Out there, welcome to my program. I remain Dr. D.I. June, your lecturer on chemistry on social media. I did say some time ago, I'm dwelling on biology lectures for now. So, when I finish, please do like my videos, share to your friends, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, namely Learn with Dr. D.I. June, for more educative lectures both on chemistry and biology. Our previous lecture was one of the methods that Gregor Mendel used in his experiments in arriving at variations and heredity. And we used the monohydric inheritance. The second one is dihybrid inheritance. But before we get there, the first method led to his first law, which is called Mendel's first law of inheritance. That is what we want to discuss now. Mendel's first law of inheritance. Now, this law is also called the law of segregation of genes. What is segregation? Separation. So, Mendel's first law of inheritance is also called the law of segregation of genes. Now, the law states that genes are responsible for the development of the individual and that they are independently transmitted from one generation to another without undergoing any alteration. And let us give simple analysis of this law. We know that genes are rod-like substances containing the chromosomes in the nucleus of organisms. And we say that the transfer of traits or characters from parents to offspring are made possible by the genes. The law is not saying that transfer of the character makes the individual, but the transfer is independent. Nobody is doing it. It is not your own will to do it. It is independent. And this persists from generation to generation without alteration. In other words, you cannot do anything about it. That's what it means. You can't do anything about it. It's a natural phenomenon. So, as we see in figure A, above here, figure A here, all the offsprings in the first filial generation are tall. You can see it here. The husband, let's take that husband now. The husband was tall, very tall man. The female, the wife, a short woman. But you will see that the tall gene was dominating. So all the children were appearing tall. That we're talking about now. In other words, the tall gene was dominant over the recessive one, which is the small t. Now, in the second filial generation, which is now the Bill diagram here, 3 of the offsprings are tall, while only 1 was short. Now, Mendel, after this experiment, he took one of these. He crossbreeded the 2, though they were all appearing tall physically, but after the crossbreed, the result showed that 3 were tall, but 1 was purely short. And in addition, the tall one is purely tall. It doesn't have any carriage of any short gene. The other 2 that appeared tall physically, they were carrying the short gene. Then this 4th child is purely short. All the genes in him or her was purely short genes. Okay. Now, from Mendel's first law of segregation of genes, The actual segregation occurs in the second filial generation. You see, now the separation here, they were all tall, but in the second filial generation, the separation of tallness and shortness actually now came to existence. Because here, you couldn't discover it. But here it was discovered that tallness, shortness was produced. Look at it now. Here, the original father here, very tall. Here, the original mother here, very short. So it is not in the second filial generation that that separation now comes about, which is called the segregation. Now, if you look at the phenotype ratio, the physical appearance ratio, you have three of them. T, TW, TW. So these three are tall, three tall plants, and then one short plant. When we talk about the genotype, it is now 1 to 2 to 1. So, but now, when I was given lectures on terminologies in genetics, I was telling you certain things that you ought to have known as you advance in biology. So I want to give some few hints here. For instance, letters, when I say letters, alphabets are used to represent the genotype of the traits. In the case of complete dominance, the capital letter forms the first letter. Like now, got it. This is heterozygous individual. Capital T, small t. It means that the dominant gene is the capital T, while the small t is the recessive gene. That means the T is dominant. So the human being is appearing tall, but in his gene, he is carrying what? A short one. Which can be dominant or can express itself in another generation. All right. Then the small letter form it represent what? Recessive gene. That means it has been suppressed, so it cannot come up like the dominant gene. Now, since tallness in the plant is dominant over the shortness, the capital T represents the gene for tallness. The double T here represents the genotype of the pure breeding tall plants. Then the small t is the gene for shortness, while the double small t represent what? The genotype, that is the genes, as an homozygous for tallness, then also homozygous for shortness. Now, a crossbreed between the two organisms is shown by the sign of what? Multiplication. You can see it here. See this sign here. That one here. See? That's why you see that this multiplying this, they give you this. This multiplying this to give you this. So that's why you are seeing this arrow line. So this first T, capital T, goes with this small t, it gives you this. This again, this small capital T goes with this other one, it will give you this. So also this ones, that's how it is. Now each gamete is represented by only one encircled letter. But this is genes, and they are two, they are always paired. So we encircle them to indicate that they are two. And therefore, they can have the chance of attacking the other side at any given time. So now, this is in compliance of Mendel's law of segregation of germinal units. A heterozygous individual is represented by one dominant gene and one recessive gene, just as the T, capital T, and small t. So this is a heterozygous individual. Means that he has two genes here. One is carrying the trait of tallness, one is carrying the trait of what? Shortness. And because their tallness and shortness are not the same, so we said it's what? Heterozygous individual. Though in the physical form or appearance is looking very tall, but he is a carrier of the gene of what? Shortness. So this is the explanation of Mendel's first law of segregation. So like it. Please also comment and then share to your friends and subscribe to my YouTube for more lectures. Thank you.